classmates. I am here to give a little bit of information about senior citizens and counseling them into retirement. And I will start by just giving a little bit of demographic information since most of us are not quite yet in that population. Just to be familiar with them, this information is sourced out of the Health and Human Services website, and it's for 2016. But the population of seniors is growing. It's a very diverse population. The minority population of seniors has doubled from 2006 to 2016. And right now, the population of seniors as a percentage of the U.S. population is about 17%. By 2050, when many of you will be senior citizens, that population is projected to be about 22%. And in Oregon right now, it's about 16.8%. So it's a significant group of people, and it's growing. Many seniors experience issues related to health. These are some of their common issues. In fact, most seniors report at least one chronic health condition. The most prevalent health condition is listed as issues of ambulation, and about 23% of seniors have that issue. Hearing is second at 15%. Little interesting side fact is about a third of seniors also have a BMI that places them in an obese category, and only 40% of them report getting regular exercise. So we've sort of got a perfect storm there. We've got some ambulation issues, and that impacts the ability to exercise, and that often results in weight issues. So that contributes to overall well-being, health, mental well-being. So just kind of a side note there to keep in mind as we're exploring this population. Let's see, as far as mental health goes, according to the CDC, the greatest mental health is reported in the Midwest. And we in the West experience the second greatest level of mental well-being. The worst is reported by seniors living in the South. This information from Medicare.gov is that Medicare Part B does cover an annual depression screening. However, any counseling or therapy is subject to deductibles and 20% copays. So keep that in mind also as we work with this population. Families and living, obviously more women live into the senior years than men, and the divorce rate among seniors is also increasing. It was 5% in 1980, and it is 15% as of 2016. So there are more seniors who are single. Some of them do cohabitate, but 28% of non-institutionalized seniors do live alone. So again, just sort of being mindful, living alone can be sort of a risk factor for mental well-being, depression. 9 out of 10 seniors prefer to age in place. That's sort of the term for knowing your expenses and knowing you can stay there. So that is the preference for 90% of them. Some income statistics for how they do support themselves in this season of life. Social Security is the greatest income source. Assets is the second income source. Earnings, which could be continuing to work, is the third, and then private pensions and government pensions round out income sources for seniors. Employment issues include that many seniors still continue to work as senior citizens past the age of 65. In fact, the percentage of senior men and women in the labor force is growing. In 2017, they made up 6% of the total labor force, and 20% of senior citizens reported still being actively employed. So there are some benefits to continuing to work. I'll list them. The first is obviously a paycheck. There are some longevity benefits that I think our class addressed, and also in the Journal of Epidemiology, there was a study that indicated that delaying retirement 1 year after 65 resulted in an 11% reduction in the death rate. So again, that could be of benefit to longevity. Better mental capacity. A study out of 2014 indicated that the longer seniors worked, the greater the decrease in dementia symptoms. So that sort of supports the use it or lose it premise. Increased social well-being is another benefit of continuing to work. Mental well-being, there's a study by the Institute of Economic Affairs that supports the idea working may reduce your risk of depression, since retirement can increase that by 40%. So again, there's this theme of depression that we're hearing. So the social connection of work, keeping your mind agile and being involved in work, having those annual depression screenings through Medicare, those are all things that we want to keep in mind when we're working with this population. Also, opportunities to learn new things is another benefit of continuing to work. There are senior programs that can be helpful to navigating through this stage of life, so it would behoove us to be aware of some of those. They include reverse mortgages, Section 8 housing, Medicare and Medicaid, SNAP food programs, and home energy assistance programs. So if people are experiencing some financial distress, it's good for us to be aware of some of those resources. Let's see, programs to help seniors plan for retirement. Many of those are sourced through an employer, such as planning for your 401k. The corporate world does quite a job of soliciting business by sending postcards about come have a free dinner and learn about the Edward Jones retirement plans. So there are for-profit models to help seniors plan for retirement. There also can be some programs through community resources, senior centers, county arrangements. I know that I live in Eugene, and the University of Oregon does have a program to support seniors' continuing education and well-being, as does our community college, and even some churches have some programs that attend to the unique needs of the senior population. So good to know. I think when working with seniors, counselors would be wise to embrace a whole person concept. Capuzzi and Staffer cite a study by Curnow and Fox, kind of old, but 1994, and they reference the third age period of life beyond career, job, and parenting, which can last 30 years, presents challenges for career counselors. Often retirement is treated as a point in time rather than a complex process, and as an economic event rather than a life event. So there's kind of a synergy of different things happening there. You've got economic event versus life event. You've got point in time versus a continuum of living. So those are factors to explore with retirees or seniors as well. So how do we best serve this population? I think being prepared. So acquainting ourselves with the needs, including some resources to offer so that we can actually be helpful as we give them opportunities to learn and grow. So knowing financial websites such as Dave Ramsey, having books we can refer, such as Retire Inspired by Chris Hogan, or a new book just out by the actress Patricia Heaton. It's called Your Second Act, Inspiring Stories of Reinvention. So that sounds like an encouraging title to be able to offer people. Also, following Bandura's social learning concepts and modeling, it might be helpful to just have a list of what I called heroes, humans embracing retirement options. These are just positive role models that you might be able to just point to instead of focusing on retirement or the senior season as a season of loss and endings, sort of broadening the perspective to include people that created meaning in their own way in that season of life. And so a few that I point to: Paul the Apostle, who worked until his dying day, and then Mother Angelica. She founded the Eternal Word Television Network. That's a Catholic station, and she worked until she was 78. And then something a little less serious but still meaningful was Cindy Joseph. She was discovered as a model at almost 50 and developed a cosmetics line for older women, and she continued to work in that industry until she died at 67. So just to bring in some examples of people who have really made the most of their time, whether it be for profit or not. Also important to consider what God has to say about retirement and the senior stage of life. There's a passage in Numbers that I will read, Numbers 8:23 through 26. The Lord said to Moses, "This applies to the Levites. Men 25 years old or more shall come to take part in the work of the tent meetings, but at the age of 50 they must retire from their regular service and work no longer. They may assist their brothers in performing their duties at the tent of meeting, but they themselves must not do the work." So interesting concept there to balance out the idea of, oh, we've got to keep working because it has these health benefits, with, now the Lord is putting some parameters around work. So something to think about, I think, is the idea of the Sabbath and the fourth commandment and the value of rest. So there is merit to finding a way to acknowledge that need as well. Ecclesiastes 3 speaks to the seasons, and that includes a season of harvesting. So there is more than one perspective of how to live successfully in retirement. So a few different perspectives. We've got Wu et al. Suggests that early retirement may be a risk factor. So that's one side of the story. And then we've got people such as Frankl, Viktor Frankl, who propose that meaning and purpose are essential to survival. So perhaps as we're working with seniors, we can help them, those that choose not to continue to work for a paycheck, we can help them explore and discover meaning and purpose in a different context. We can pull in something Capuzzi and Stouffer references as the Goodman's 4S system of exploration that includes exploring the self, the situation, the support available, and the strategies involved in redefining themselves in this season of life. And so also encouraging a narrative so that they can sort of hear their story and we can reflect back to them as ways to help identify the salient parts of their pursuits. I'm going to quote from a retiree here. "To me, retirement provides more time to talk with God, spend with family, pursue friendships, and reflect on great memories. I value my health and still enjoy the feeling of being young, even though occasionally I'm reminded that I'm not." That is a retiree who's 68. And another retiree, age 69, says, "Retirement is the time to enjoy the rewards of working hard during your lifetime. Planning and saving during your working years makes retirement much more enjoyable. It is also a great time to enjoy the extra time with your spouse, but you need to make sure you've kept your marriage strong while you've worked and raised a family." So those perspectives come from people who found meaning outside of work. So we've got a holistic approach here, and I think counselors can best serve seniors by encouraging them to find out what meaning and purpose means to them, and really employing Western's competency of respect, which states that the client can solve their own problems with God's help. Thank you.